waifu, Changli, is out. She has a highly optimizable playstyle, so let's get right into it. We'll cover her kit, animation cancels and combos, as well as calculations and DPS differences for sequence nodes, weapons, and builds. Oh, we'll touch on teams and show an optimized rotation example as well. Get ready, cause it's about to get hot in here. Changli's gameplay revolves around her true sight mechanic, which gives her one empowered attack as well as a Forte stack. While her Forte doesn't reach Jinchi levels of burst damage, this can be executed much more frequently. Let's talk about how to efficiently build her stacks. Let's start out with True Sight. There are 3 ways to enter the state. Her 4th basic attack, skill, or intro. The True Sight state lasts for 10 seconds, meaning you can swap out and use it later. When in the True Sight state, clicking a basic attack will trigger True Sight Conquest, while pressing jump or attacking in midair triggers True Sight Charge. These can be animation cancelled with her skill or liberation, or simply swapped from. However, she doesn't gain a Forte stack until the first hit of damage, so it's important to make sure it connects before you cancel. As with every character, there are plenty of shortcuts in her basic attack combo. Switching in will start you from basic attack 2, and using your plunge starts you at 3. There's some funny tech because of this that you could do with cancelling the plunge. Specifically, if you gain True Sight from a basic attack combo, you can buffer a heavy attack during the 4th attack to put you in the air. Follow it up with True Sight Charge. Dodge cancel the plunge that follows, and then weirdly enough, your next aerial attack will give you True Sight again, letting you gain another stack. It's a bit of a long combo, but definitely worth mentioning. Her skill deals a fair amount of damage while granting True Sight. When Quickswapping, this is highly recommended to be swap cancelled, as opposed to her True Sight attacks, as you can cancel True Sight attacks early with her skill, but not vice versa. Her Forte requires 4 stacks to use and consumes them all for a burst of damage. It's recommended to cancel this with her liberation as soon as the damage goes off, or swap out of it due to its long cast time. Speaking of liberation, her liberation refills all of her Forte stacks, meaning you'll ideally want to use it at a time when you have none, as to not waste any stacks, making the Forte to liberation to Forte combo a staple in rotations. Changli's inherent skills grant increasing bonus damage on True Sight attacks, depending on your Forte stacks, but more interestingly, defense ignore on her Forte and liberation. The defense multiplier, which is normally 0.488 for level 90 characters versus level 100 enemies, gets increased to 0.529, an 8.4% damage increase. Because Changli's True Sight attacks and Forte all count as skill damage, she has a heavy skill damage split, which we'll elaborate on when we talk about builds. That covers the basics of her kit. The key takeaway is that her kit is extremely swap and cancel heavy. Taking advantage of these will maximize her damage, but we'll cover the specifics in the rotation segment. Let's move on with her sequence nodes. The sequence calculations were simulated in a team with Changli, Encore, and Verena, using Changli's signature weapon. For more information on the parameters and results, please check the description for a link to my DPS calculator. Her S1 gives a 10% damage bonus to her skill and Forte. However, a 10% damage bonus is just a drop in the bucket, as damage bonus is the most saturated multiplier in the game. The resistance to interruption is very welcome though, as Changli can otherwise get her skill cancelled before she gains a stack from it. Next is her S2, which grants 25% crit rate for 8 seconds after gaining a Forte stack. Unlike her S1, this is a very significant advancement for DPS. Her S3 gives an 80% damage bonus on her Liberation. Her Liberation hits quite hard, so this increases her overall damage by a good amount. Her S4 buffs the entire team with a 20% attack buff after using her intro, lasting 30 seconds. This sequence is worth a decent amount for her personal damage and helps buff her team as well. S5 is Changli's strongest sequence, granting a 50% multiplier bonus on her Forte, as well as a 50% damage bonus on top of that. This one is worth more base damage than every other sequence before it combined. Finally, her S6 gives an additional 40% defense ignore on her skill, Liberation, and Forte. This results in a 28% additional gain on her Forte and Liberation, and a 25.7% gain on her skill. Because these are all her highest damage abilities, this sequence is worth a decent amount. Let's look at weapon options next. The weapon calcs will use the same parameters that we just used for sequences, but with S0 on everyone. We'll consider the 5-star standard weapon Emerald of Genesis as the baseline 100% metric at R1. Emerald of Genesis grants a small attack buff on skill cast, on top of having energy regen passively. With its crit rate main stat, it's a very solid choice for her. Next is her signature weapon, Blazing Brilliance. This gives stacking skill damage and is obviously the go-to choice for her. However, compared to previous signature weapons, this one is a much smaller gain over the 5-star standard. The Battle Pass weapon, Lumingloss, gives basic and heavy attack damage when using a skill. This is almost completely worthless, and at best, you will receive a microscopic amount of value on the single plunge you do across rotations. Commando of Conviction is the standard budget option, but is still just a better version of Lumingloss. In the next section, let's look at echo builds and substat optimization. We'll start out with echo builds. Here's a graph of 3 builds across all of Changli's sequences. 43311 with double fusion, 43311 with fusion and attack percent, and then 44111, which still doesn't exist for fusion, but I'm putting it here anyway cause why not? The 43311 double fusion will be considered as the 100% value at each point. As you can see, the fusion and attack percent build is generally behind, but pulls ahead by a little bit at S3, falls behind at S4 due to the extra attack percent boost, and then pulls ahead afterward due to the extra bonus damage multiplier from S5. However, these are extremely close contenders, and are at most just over 1% different. On the other hand, 44111 is never better than either of these builds, but catches up a bit at later advancements due to the dilution of other modifiers. So, what about substats? Here's a graph with the relative gain for one median row of a substat for Changli at 2 points, with 0 and full substats. As always, crit has the highest value, followed by attack percent. Flat attack is very close to skill damage, and can be better or worse depending on the row values you're comparing. It's also worth noting that liberation damage isn't completely irrelevant either. Next, we'll briefly look at various teams she fits in, as well as an example optimized rotation. Changli's ideal role is to be a quick swap DPS alongside a supplemental DPS or hypercarry. However, that's not to say that Changli can't be a big DPS herself. She fits in various teams. Here are just a few of the options that have been cooked so far, alongside their expected DPS. I might dive more into these in a different video, but for now, we'll continue with the sample rotation with Encore. The main idea for this rotation is that we want to build up Changli's Forte to Liberation to Forte combo first, which gives enough concerto for her to outro to Encore, so then Encore can enjoy the buff for her full burst. To do this, we want to sprinkle a lot of Changli quick swaps in the rotation, prioritizing loading up a True Sight first, and then doing a True Sight attack cancel into skill swap for maximum speed. Let's look at a highly optimized example. Start out on Encore, then switch into Changli for her shortened basic 2-3-4 combo, switching to Verena as soon as the animation for the fourth attack starts. Use Verena's 3-4-5, then switch to Encore. Tap her skill, then switch to Changli and use True Sight Conquest, cancelling it with her skill as soon as it connects. Swap back to Encore to finish her skill, then swap to Verena and tap her Liberation, following it with her skill, swapping to Changli in the process. Use Changli's True Sight Conquest, cancelling it with Infernal Rider. After the animation for the third hit of Infernal Rider starts, switch to Verena, tap her Echo, then jump and use 2 mid-air attacks. Outro to Changli, use True Sight Charge, cancelling it with her skill as soon as it connects. Plunge to the ground on Encore, then use Infernal Rider. Swap back as soon as you can to Changli, use True Sight Conquest followed by her Forte. Cancel her Forte as soon as the damage comes out with her Liberation, and follow it up with another Forte cast, instantly swapping to Encore. If you have Stream Master, quickly tap her skill before hitting Liberation to proc the buff. Now we do the typical Encore burst rotation. 4 basic attacks, cancel it with Cosmo's Rampage, then 4 more basic attacks and a dodge cancel, then 4 more basic attacks and another Cosmo's Rampage. Then use our Forte and swap to Changli. This marks the end of the opener rotation. The follow-up loop plays almost exactly the same, except you start with a Changli intro instead of having to press basic 2-3-4. Though, there's an optimization note I need to cover. When you swap out of Encore to Changli to do her intro the True Sight Charge to skill swap combo, this leaves you in the air. But with Encore channeling her Forte, you have an opportunity to switch back to Encore to get back on the ground before swapping to Verena. This way, you don't have to do an awkward and slow Verena punch. That's about it for this deep dive. I may cover other team comps in upcoming videos, but in the meantime, feel free to check out the rotations that have been cooked by myself and the community by checking out the DPS calculator, link in the description. Shoutouts to all of those who have contributed rotations so far. Everyone's learning so much now with collaboration, yay! And on that note, a shoutout to channel members as well. Your support is much appreciated, and it makes me happy every time I see your cute icons next to your comments. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!